It's like kicking to the left of screen tonight. They kicked 7 in the first and 7 in the third, but Sydney just couldn't keep up with them in that term, and they dashed away to 103 to 72. Not the most famous horse in Australia this week. There's John Longmire, but gee, you'd be upset after what we've just seen. Chris Scott and John Longmire. It's been a night where just goals rained early, and then it's been a real dogfight, but mainly Geelong's way, particularly in that third quarter. Scotty there, but he'd be a little happier right now. Gee, those Scott boys, they can thump a desk, can't they? Yep, happy with that one. Right on three-quarter time, and why not? They're in a good position. In a position to get a good win and go to 4-0. Just a reminder about VB and their support of the Razor Glass appeal again, Anzac Day this year. They're asking you more than to raise a glass. So if you can go along to that dawn service, and the former General of the Australian Defence Force, Peter Cosgrove, himself is right behind all of that. Oh, Lingy, what a game of footy we've seen tonight, but the Cats were just brilliant then, and Sydney seemed to slow to a walk.
Yeah, they did, Bruce. That was the big thing, the run through the middle of the ground. Geelong just blew them away in that quarter. I wouldn't mind seeing in this quarter, throw in Jetta, throw in Armstrong into the middle of the ground. I love your idea, Hales. Get a Goodsy through the middle of the ground. Give him that little bit of extra run. Dan Hanbury still looks very sore, doing a bit of running at three-quarter time. Looks very proppy. And the Cats just quickly, they've made the sub. Billy Smets has been subbed out with Josh Caddy, the man, in.
So the margin 31 points. That was an outstanding term as far as the Cats were concerned. Really put their stamp on this game. Hanbury, well, as courageous as any player going around. He's proven that tonight. We knew it coming in. Bad bounce again, and the umpire will have to recall it, umpire Stevic.
Swans actually let off the hook. There's a little bit of a breakdown in communication between Marty Mattner and Malcheski. Josh Caddy, the sub, starting on the wing for the Cats.
This time West wins it wide of the pack. Coming off the line was Mackey. Falling to the ground, Jack. Socked forward out of there by Selwood. He tracks it back towards the half-back line. Gets a hand pass back to Chapman. Drives it inside the forward 50. Opportunity for Grundy. Beat him. Plenty of Swans back there though. McVeigh comes away with a footy. Out of the back pocket. Up towards half-back. And Pike. What a terrific grab. He's been wonderful in a losing cause so far tonight. O'Keefe just beyond the wing. Reid was in front, taken across the line by Corey Enright.
Begs the question at the moment with Mike Pikely, if Tippett was available, who do you leave out, Pike or Mumford?
Well, just at the moment, I would say Pike's going better, isn't he? Yeah, he's in better form than Mumford tonight, for sure.
Just saw Nick Davis running there. I wonder if they could bring him on, Tom. Was it 17 points to margin in that famous final?
I think Lee and I are pretty happy that he's got the runner's kit on, not the red and white of the Swans.
First goal vital here. I mean, Sydney, long way back, but one goal here, who knows? They need it. McGlynn so good early. Kicks to half forward. Gee, they missed everything there, but getting back with Stokes. Goods. Oh, that's a long way to run over the line. Anyway, Enright did it, and it was all okay. So gets it to Mackey, to Duncan. And then Duncan off a step to Podsiadly. Bit of a cameo role for Pods tonight. Got a goal in that first half. That's a lovely kick off the boot. But Richards did well. He out-muscled Hawkins that time. The Tomahawk had a big 15 minutes in the third quarter, and it made a difference.
It certainly did. Richards feeds it back. Grundy. Runner alongside McVeigh. Well, actually, he wasn't running when he got the football. Malcheski pushes up from the back pocket. Goes towards half-back, finds Mattner. Mattner wants to go, and he does. Oh, well, he kicked it straight to Stokes. Stokes tumbling off balance, gave it across towards Lonergan. Lonergan goes back towards half-forward. There's the sub. Caddy gave it to Podsiadly. Now Steve Johnson, hard against the boundary line. Not his best effort, goes a long way in the air. Smith was up to fist it down. Crashing the pack was Caddy. Waiting for him the other side and taking him to ground was Smith. That was a terrific tackle. Credit enough to Caddy. He decided to take them on, but Smith, virtually standing flat-footed, was able to bulldog him to the ground.
Just trying to create a loose man here, Sydney, and some run. That's a very poor kick. Rivers back to Hunt, and then Hunt squares. It shows a lot of the footy. And Jack. So Bartel just a bit late. Parker. They really need some run and carry here, Sydney. Parker off a step to half forward. Pike's been so good and does it again. Well, he's a hard man to stop in the air. O'Keefe under pressure. Wasn't a great handball by Pike, and O'Keefe's kicked to full forward. Lonigan, Reid. Reid takes him to the ground. Morton hasn't been able to impose himself tonight. Held up, gets the ball out. McGlynn did well. Reid, still with Reid, little handball. And then Enright will throw it out to Hanbury. Morton, clever enough. Podsiadly, chipping, putting Jimmy under a bit of pressure, and then Hunt ran it out of play. Cleverly found his throw.
Go through, mate.
Well, a bit of a coming out party for Mike Pike tonight. He's taken some very good grabs. Looks quite at home now. In the early days, it didn't seem like a natural habitat for him, but he's making it his own. Down in front of the pack, Mackey couldn't get it out. McGlynn just outside the 50. Hanbury, McVeigh. Plenty of Swans still. McVeigh trying to find a way through. Touched off the boot. In front, Kennedy. Quiet night by his lofty standards. In goes Lonigan, held to him. We'll have a ball up. 16 possessions for Kennedy. Hurriedly out of the congestion. McVeigh only as far as Taylor, who carries it gently and sends it back towards the centre square. Motlop to the run of Hunt. Christensen is on. They've got 2-on-1. Christensen looks goalward. How will it bounce? It bounces well wide. Doesn't matter. It bounces truly, but it was on line for a behind, barely scraping in. Interesting when you look at the figures for Kennedy. In 20 games last season, he had over 25 possessions with a top of 40. So if you compare that to what he's given us tonight and what he's given the Swans, he'd be disappointed.
Dennis, you mentioned he's had 16 disposals. The most remarkable thing, 2 kicks and 14 handballs. So a lot of the stuff's been defensive, hasn't it?
Yep.
And the man who's done a great job on him, George Holland-Smith, he's been fantastic tonight. Won a bit of the ball himself, 21 touches. Geelong rate him very highly. Love his leadership. He was captain of the Australian under-16 cricket team, so we know he's got leadership. He's done really well tonight.
Mackey's kick into a contest. Malcheski did well to get rid of Johnson, Corey, Chapman. There is Holland-Smith right on cue. Motlop's been clever, and that's a brilliant kick. That was Stevie J-line, off the step, demanding Christensen to run to the footy, and he did just that.
Yeah, that Holland-Smith Kennedy matchup, he's had 7 clearances as well, Holland-Smith, so that's been a terrific win for the fairly young, unheralded players. Done a really good job against Kennedy, which has enabled Geelong to win the clearances and win the game by the look of it.
He struck it well, Christensen. He struck it really well. It's gone all the way. And Geelong continue to impress. He's a very good player, this guy. I mean, there's a lot of the Stokes about him when he started, but he quickly emerged from his shadow, didn't he? His last year, very good. This year, Lee, I think in the first 4 weeks he's been so impressive.
Christensen and Motlop, and they just give them some movement. They lost Varco injured, we know that. That's been a blow for them. But so they're going to depend on some of those, I guess what we could term lesser lights, to give the team the long-running talent.
And they were the first to 100, Lee. You often say first to 100 wins. You do say that, don't you?
No, that's not one of mine, Dennis. But
isn't it?
That's good.
Oh.
I'll go with you on it, but I don't say it.
That's good news, because my wife keeps telling me you said it. Whenever I'm watching the footy, she says, Lee said, well, I'm going to tell her you didn't say that.
No, then I'll put my hand up. It's an old footy adage I got from my old man. He often would say, first side to 100 wins. So lovely V thinks I sound like Lee.
I tell you who's won me. It goes down towards the attacking 50. Up comes Bolton. No, it's Richards. Richards took the footy. Down goes Christensen. O'Keefe did well to Matner. McVeigh. They can't buy a goal though. Kick goes inside the forward 50. Opportunity at the back of the pack there. Initially, Hanbury was able to give it across to McVeigh. Up on his toes and dancing was Jack, and he finds McGlynn. Takes the tumbling Mark McGlynn about 40 metres out.
I think when the other side team stuck on 73 points, Dennis, that first 100's probably
Do you want to go on
a
with
good
that
way
tonight?
to win the game, I think.
Don't dilute the arguments. Lee, thank you. Bless you. So here's the kick from McGlynn then. He kicks from about 48 metres, and that's a powerful boot. Puts it through. But you get the feeling too little, too late.
Of got to say, Dennis, I was really impressed with the way he deflected the blame onto V. I mean, I've never been able to do that in my place, but that was really clever.
That's the truth. I was getting heartily sick of it.
Well, anyway, don't worry, from now on it is Lee's and not Tom's father's.
It is now. Tonight it is. I'm going with it tonight.
Did your dad play 332 games for Hawthorn?
No, he played about that many for Spock in South Australia amateur competition, but not for Hawthorn.
So McGlynn gets, well, a much needed one. There's those last 10 centre breaks. I mean, it's probably they're probably a goal too far back, maybe two. They needed the first, you feel, don't you? It would be a very tall ask from this point on, but Pike has been meritorious. He's been very, very, very good. Then Morton, Kennedy's third kick for the Knights, a goal. Suddenly this game has got a bit more life in it. There's plenty of time. I know I'm a half-full sort of guy. I like a half-full glass, but you don't know. I mean,
you get the crowd of life too. When you're the home team and you're behind and you can kick a couple of goals, you get a bit of noise in the crowd. It's amazing how that can get the adrenaline flow going in the players' bodies, and that's what the Swans need, because they've just lacked energy for most of the second, third quarter.
And again, it was Pike's influence in the second.
Yeah.
He's been very good, hasn't he?
Here's the goal here, Josh Kennedy getting in the right spot, but it's a centre clearance, and at the SCG there's no ground in Australia that rewards fast centre breaks, and that's how the Swans need to get back in the game.
2 goals with their last 3 kicks. Selwood, McVeigh puts one up in the air, still inside the centre square, bounces off the chest of Hunt, came to Taylor. He kicks towards half forward, surely being held was Motlop. Gee, that was clever. He side booted it across to Selwood. Selwood emerges with the footy and finds Hawkins. Well,
I've heard you say that about 20 times tonight. Selwood's emerged with the football, Dennis. Well, that's what he keeps doing.
And I do say that.
You do, I know, because he keeps doing it.
The stats will suggest that 17 contested possessions and 7 clearances and 6 inside 50s.
And what about Motlop with that sleight of foot? That was remarkable. And the beneficiary is Big Tom. So maybe he can put down the resistance. A spate of goals with very few kicks at the other end. A couple back-to-back for the Swans, but Hawkins kicks his third and halts them in their tracks.
It's a great call, Dennis. You're so right about Motlop, but it was the cleverest bit of play, but Selwood's just had a really
amazing.
big
It's just
moment.
almost unfair to the rest of the competition that he was a first-year player when Geelong started the premiership run. So he's now in his prime. A lot of yourself, Tom, Cameron downstairs have all retired, but he's still in the prime of his career to keep driving the club forward.
And you get the sense for as long as he's at the club's going to be in pretty good shape.
And Selwood's night, it's just been remarkable. He just wheeled them back into the game when they were down in that second term, went down to the back line for a while, probably following O'Keefe, and the rest is now history.
Geelong.
So Hawkins with a good second half, and Geelong been so impressive. Selwood up to 30 now, out wide, and Blitzarf's got rid of his man very well, and then had a second crack. Good tackle, Malcheski. And Malcheski hard at him now. And the ball up. Interesting to see how Sydney react here. I mean, they are the premiers. They're at home. They need a strong finish here, even if they get beaten. They just can't fall away here. Malcheski cut it off. We talk a lot about the culture, the spirit of the Bloods. Mumford takes the mark. West has probably had the better of Mummy, I reckon.
Mumford goes to Goods. Made it awkward for McVeigh. Finds it on the deck. Tentative bounce. And again, runs the boundary. Now he goes for distance, still close to the boundary. Reed should have marked that one. Knocked away by Taylor. Crumbed by Morton around the corner. He goes and finds Jetta. Not bad policy if they're pushing Jetta forward now. He has the ability to frighten defences.
Sam Reid just looking a little out of sorts with confidence. I mean, he's getting to the right spots, but just not watching the ball into his hands.
Jetta showing some frustration. Their leading goal kicker with 45 last season just pops it up to the head of the square. Mumford, big leap. Pike tries to knock it to Hanbury. Taken by Johnson though. Clears the area, puts it out towards the boundary, but it will be coming back. Matner, he surrounded the thing, goes in short, and he finds Smith. and Smith is about 75 metres from goal.
He's got a lot of Geelong jumpers between him and the goal too. So he puts it to about 30 metres. A couple of flyers and Taylor outmarks Reid.
Doesn't spoil, he just marks, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's always the thing as a defender. If you can get both hands to the football, the forward can't mark it. That's Harry Taylor's technique.
Just chips the ball towards Mackie. Smith and also Chapman. Big fly came from Mattner a moment ago. And a boundary throw in. Armstrong.
Stay back, Mark. Stay one.
Still trying to establish himself in this Sydney team. He's a promising player. Just not quite the finished product as yet. O'Keefe, Hanbury, well done Stokes. Blitzarves talking about potential. Kicks the ball high. Hawkins goes to ground. Johnson, clever. He didn't have the leg really in the right spot. And now Selwood forcing forward. And then Johnson getting involved. And still Stevie J trying to get it out. And a ball up.
Gee, you get nervous when Joel Selwood's running at a ball like that when there's a player coming the other way. You know he won't balk, and you know how many times he's been knocked out and been split open. It's surely got to be nerve-wracking for Maurice Selwood watching him play.
He's up to 30 possessions now. Caddy, hurriedly, it was touched. How will it bounce? It just bounces true and goes through for a minor score. He got the 3 Brownlow votes last time these sides met. On the season last year, averaged 26 possessions. He'd started averaging 24 this season over the first 3, but he's bumped that up tonight. There's Kennedy, deep in his own defensive area, kicks it straight to Stokes. He thought about the gift to Christensen, decided not to.
And speaking of average possessions, Matty Stokes starting, averaging 25. This will be his 26th. Came on as a sub a couple of weeks ago and absolutely brained them. He's having a fantastic start to the season. That's one's fair to say that's a gimme.
Yep, it is.
Mature age player now, this fellow. Christensen following in his footsteps. The lookalikes, and Motlop has been terrific tonight as well. Well done by Motlop, or rather Stokes. He's got 2.
They're so impressive tonight.
Yeah, they have been. I mean, they're just so strong late in games, Geelong. I mean, that's one of the things that always impresses you about them, and the Swans have been in the majority of occasions today. But I just found it amazing what kind of first quarter we saw, and then the game since. I mean, I guess Geelong have kept scoring. They're going to kick 19 goals, so they've done well, but the Swans have just not been able to keep it going.
So a couple to Stokes, 3 to Hawkins, 3 to Motlop, couple to Chapman, couple to Taylor. They've been it's been a great team effort led by their brilliant captain. So Mumford to himself and then out of the centre to full forward. Pike got just caught underneath that one. Rivers, well played to Corey, and that back half again to Lonigan. That's a clever enough kick, Caddy, the sub, and he rolled it out of the play and a boundary throw in.
Throw it in, go through.
It's been a lot. Well, there's the answer. And Geelong, after tonight, would have won 122 out of their last 147 games. That's from round 6, including round 6, 2007. No team's ever had a run anything quite like it, so they've won 122 out of their last 147.
It's been an amazing 7 years it is now, isn't it? 7 years of excellence.
And the umpire's finding a lot of stuff around these packs too, and Johnson has picked up a few free kicks. Of the major beneficiaries. This is the highest score against the Swans under John Longmire. That's an amazing stat. Johnson to Enright. He's at right half back. Goes for distance. Having said that, it's a very high ball. Up goes Mumford, juggles the mark. Puts it across towards Grundy, who's tried hard. Grundy goes back towards the half-forward line for his side. Jetta, no room. Takes it across the boundary line. They're out of ideas now, the Sydney Swans. They're just playing it out. A lot spoken about in terms of their soft start. Well, maybe it's told against them tonight. They exploded last week with 11 goals in the third term. Here's McVeigh, 55 metres out. That's a good, dangerous kick back towards the middle. Kennedy. He got it from Jack, but Parker coughed it up. Enright goes to Taylor. Taylor with some flair. Gets it to Podsiadeli. Rampy tracking him down. The kick towards the outer side. Hawkins left it behind. Mopping up his Grundy.
Got a couple of options, Grundy. Uses the safest one. Rampy's been pretty impressive when he's had the ball in hand. That one, well done there by Lonergan, getting down low. Enright, brilliant hands. Hall Smith was sung his praises, not that time. Rampy to Bolton, to McVeigh, who kicked a couple in the opening term and gets one in the last. So 3 to McVeigh pretty late in the match. So he's kicked 3, he's got 10 for the season. I mean, they've just, what have they kicked? 8 in the first and 6 since then, whereas Geelong have kept going. So, great win for the Cats here tonight. You build your season around these wins, don't you? I mean, it gives you such a platform, I think. Lingy, I just wanted to ask you about Lewis Jetta. How have you seen his night tonight?
Well, it's been probably a pretty ordinary one. He's only had the 7 touches and hasn't had a big impact on the game of footy, but he's got to learn a couple more tricks when things aren't going to plan or it's not his night. He's got to add a couple more strings to his bow, another way of getting the footy, another way of getting himself involved in the game.
And have you seen any of that from him tonight, trying to add those to his bow?
The Swans might kick another one here through Jared McVeigh, but out before, I think. No, I haven't really, Bruce. That's the one thing I've noticed. I'd love to see him even spend time in the centre bounces, right in at the contest, maybe even be able to push forward, maybe float through half-back. Whatever it is, it's going to get him into the game. He can do it, and the coaches allow him to do it because he's such a quality player, and you can't have him only getting 7 touches on a night like this against a quality team like Geelong. You need him part of your team and playing good footy. Especially
because he brings so much speed. As Johnson comes across to Mackey in the back pocket, running hard. Speaking of speed, Motlop has a bounce, carries it up towards the wing. The short one finds Stokes. Stokes, after his last goal, has got 2. Determined to finish that sentence. Here's Stokes. Takes something off this one, down towards the 50. Peeling off to beat the football is Matner. Whoops. Gives it to Jack. He's tried hard, Jack, particularly in this second half against the odds. Oh, that's a good mark. Quality player. Kennedy wants to go. 19 votes in the Brownlow last season. Will be a free kick to Smith. Bolton takes the advantage. Not sure about the wisdom of that. Bartel favoured by the kick, and he tracks it back across the boundary line. So that's okay. Ball will stop there. They'll get a boundary throw in.
Next, lads. Stay. That's okay. Fine.
So it's West and Mumford. Would have been at Geelong at the same time for a little while, both trying to impose themselves behind Ottens, I guess. The two of them, is that?
Yeah, Ottens and Mark Blake, and Stephen King was the Premiership ruckman in 07, Mark Blake in 09.
So Mummy and Westy would have...
yeah, absolutely. Mummy went to Sydney, I think, at the end of 07 when Mark Blake...
And good mates too, Bruce, those two. Westy and Mummy enjoyed each other's company. Both similar blokes, both country boys, and loved having a good time together, but loved competing for that same spot too.
So Stokes to Bartel. And Bartel off a step. Taylor and Goods. Taylor's reigned supreme for most of the night. Chapman. Who's been the second best player tonight? I mean, the best player, I think, stands out alone. I mean, who'd be the second best player behind Selwood?
We could argue Taylor Hunt, because he's the matchup that kept Lewis Jetta from being an influence on the game. And when the speed went out of the Swans, that's when they needed Lewis Jetta's surge with the footy, but that wasn't happening.
Selwood rucking now. This is Duncan, just wide of the pack. Tackled by Bolton. Comes to Chapman, slings it across to Caddy, to Bartel. Cruising past Christensen, spots the leading Hawkins. They've been touched on the way through, doesn't matter. He gives it back to Caddy, who initiated that. He kicks it down towards full forward. Oh, and it's been plucked down there by Lonergan. And Grundy can't believe it. He thought he had it covered, and suddenly Lonergan thrust out those long arms, and it stuck.
Tom, that's one. Stay there.
Started obviously playing his footy as a forward, Tom Lonergan, so he will enjoy this opportunity for a shot on goal.
Goes with the outside of the boot and misses.
Is that about ambition and ability?
Yeah, maybe.
Would have had 12 goal kickers tonight. He would have made it 13 to spin them. Great team effort. Malcheski short. McVeigh. Back to Malcheski. Good kick into the centre.
Stay.
And then Jack with such purpose. Malcheski running hard. Lovely kick off the boot. Good fly. Couldn't quite hang on. Reed just hasn't done enough tonight. Kennedy, Morton had no impact at all as the sub. Bolton can't get through. Well done, Chapman. Corey off a step to a contest. You'd fancy Richards at the back, belting it away. Selwood, not quite that time. Reed coughed it up. Well played at the back by Rivers. Motlop's been very, very good again tonight. Some of his kicking's been so clever and innovative. Kicks to centre half forward. Matner. Short. Morton. O'Keefe.
Looking to find a way through. Ambitious around that guy. Selwood nailed him. Motlop picks up the crumb. Stokes. They work well together. It's a party trick. Down goes Chappie. Hunt. Stokes. Back in the direction of Hunt. Caddy cruising past. Coming up to meet him was Jack. Thought Caddy was going to receive the ball. Well, he's got it now, as it turns out. Kicks inside the forward 50. Matner comes hard again. Sensing the danger. Charged at the footy. Takes on Lonigan. Has a bounce. A Pyrrhic victory as he runs up towards centre half back. Now he comes to Malcheski, someone else's problem. He went near Selwood. Don't know why he would do that. The kick goes inside the forward 50. A beaten up Hanbury deserves to kick a goal, and he does. There is some justice. That's his second.
Well, they haven't. I guess they've hung around, haven't they? They haven't completely collapsed.
One of the, I reckon the sort of the tactical things that Geelong seem to have done. In the first quarter, their defence got sucked upfield, and the Swans beat them back a few times. But I reckon they've just held back since then.
Tom, your top form?
I think unanimous Joel Selwood was the player who really exerted himself on the game. Harry Taylor both back and forward. I thought George Hall and Smith got the vote that Taylor Hunt potentially could have got as a defensive role on Josh Kennedy. Motlop's kicked the 3 goals, hadn't had as many possessions as, say, a Matty Stokes, but I just think his creativity, had a couple of scores, just he's been one of the better players also.
So 124 to 97. Matner gets it from West, and then on the wrong side for him to centre half forward. Bolton belting it forward. Bartel and Bolton. Well done, Bartel. Chapman. Stokes. Little give. Chapman running hard, hooking back. Armstrong read it well, couldn't quite hang on. Okay though, Smith, and then Smith half over kicked it, I reckon, but well done by Parker against a hard man in Bartel. And Parker off a step. Can Goods or Reed take one? No. Duncan running hard at the back.
To Podsy Adley, he'll look up and see Rampy, the only man forward on that side of the ground. Although Selwood has run hard, he'll come up to compete there with young number 43, but the ball eludes the pair of them and goes out of bounds. I think Dane Rampy would be pleased with his game tonight. Has found a bit of the football. Interesting, Dane Swan plays his 200th game tomorrow, and Swan Dane playing his second out there tonight as the ball goes down towards half forward. On the angle, Hall and Smith. Tackle from behind by Armstrong. We've liked Hall and Smith's game. And he's been penalised. Gee, that's a pretty hard call.
Immediately. Stand up now.
Okay, well, the umpire explaining it there. But Hall and Smith, once they dragged it in, it was a split second to when somebody arrived. It was never coming out.
So Armstrong at the moment, probably every game he plays, he's sort of thinking, I've got to play a good one to stay in. And he's had a bit of it tonight. It's his 17th disposal. Parker squares it. Hanbury, and very good Hanbury. Good kick across the ground. That's his 28th for Hanbury. Smith over the top now. Malcheski could go all the way here. He's such a long, beautiful kick, and he does. And they get to 100. But they weren't the first there, Tom. You had to be with us earlier, but Tom's dad reckons first team to 100, which, I tell you one thing, it means nothing for the Cats, but I'll tell you anyway. It's the first time, in fact, I had this written down, Dennis. Okay, the last time they conceded 100 points in 3 consecutive games was 2006, rounds 8 to 10, and they've done it so far this season. So 100 points for the third time in a row against the Cats. You know what? They probably won't give a toss about that tonight.
but you were determined to get it out there. I know the feeling.
We know it was a really high-scoring first quarter, but it's still a 35-goal game, so there's been plenty of scoring.
So the margin is back to 21 points. I think you can safely say that does flatter the Swans. Well, it was there to be won. Geelong were irrepressible as Johnson comes away and goes to Podsy Adley. Podsy Adley up to 16 possessions. This goes short. Johnson's got it. Comes back to Lonigan as the clock continues to run down. Lonigan to Enright. In many ways, Enright the compass of this team. So much direction from the back. Short one comes to Mackey. Down to 22 seconds. They're just working it around the park. Bartell to Enright. Crowd getting a little restless, but gee, they've been treated to some fine football tonight. And the Cats have reason to celebrate and just take their time and savour this victory, even though the final siren has not sounded. Parker looking for a little contact there over the boundary line, so we're down to siren time.
Thank you.
And it will be Geelong who go ahead undefeated. And if my memory serves me correctly, this is their biggest win of the season. They've played a couple of close ones, but tonight it's the Cats, 19-10 to 16-7 on Friday Night Football.
Greatest team of all. We are Geelong. We're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played. And home or far away. Our banners fly high from dawn to dark. Down at Gardenia Park.
Okay, let's go down the ground. Have a great win for Geelong tonight. High quality match, 21-point victors over last year's premiers. And one young fellow who impressed all of us up here tonight, Lingy's with you.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. All the commentators were very impressed with your game, George. It must have felt good to get out there, get a bit of game time in the middle of the ground, get a bit of the ball. It's got to give you a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, exactly. It was, the boys played really well today, and it was a really team effort around the ball. Collectively, we probably started a little bit slow, but then we worked our way into the game, and third quarter really set us up for the final siren, so it was good.
And had the job on Josh Kennedy. He's such a quality player, such a strong body. Must have been pleased to be able to do the job on him.
Yeah, we've got a lot of respect for the way Josh plays. He's a really contested player, something that we really value. And I had a lot of help from my teammates. John Corey really helped me out around the ball, and the team really had to help each other out to nullify Josh.
Well, mate, go and enjoy it with the boys. Well done tonight. Great stuff. Well done.
He really is an impressive young man, isn't he? A great speaker. The Cats have fallen for the fourth time in the last 6 years. Now, the other three occasions before this have gone on and made the grand final, at least made the grand final. So 4 of the last 6 years have been 4-0 after the first month of footy.
And amongst that group there's Jared Rivers, of course, who came across from Melbourne. You think he might be enjoying his football in the first month of the year.
And Josh Caddy lost his first 16 games as a son, and here he is.
Yeah.
Down to Ealing. Admittedly, Rivers had flowed a bit longer than Caddy, hadn't he?
Well, I've got Harry Taylor here with me, boys. A terrific team effort by the boys. Quality team, Sydney. Up here in Sydney. Must have felt good to pull that one off.
Yeah, it did, Lingy. We've had a really big 4 weeks, and to finish it off with a win tonight was an outstanding effort. A really good team effort from all the boys.
And did you enjoy sneaking down, mate? 5 shots a goal. You could have kicked straight, of course, but 2 goals, 3. Nice to have that flexibility to be able to get forward.
Yeah, with Roberts Thompson going down, unfortunately, it probably allowed me to get forward a little bit more. Obviously got to kick a bit straighter though, Lingy.
And this really now, 4-0, sets you guys up really well for the rest of the season, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. You've got to win the early games. That's probably what we struggled with a bit last year. But to win those early games now, it puts us in a good position going forward.
Thanks for your time, Hatchie. Well done.
Thanks, Lingy.
So there you go, a great win by Geelong tonight by 21 points in the end. It's the highest score kicked against the Swans at the SCG since 2002, which was round 8 by the Western Bulldogs back in 2002. So 19-10, 124 to 16-7, 103, 21-point win, the highest score kicked versus the Swans. They were fantastic, the Cats. They won the game in the Premiership quarter. Mark McClure, it was when you were running around for Carlton in those days, when they won by 6 goals in that third quarter. And we just did a little back of envelope stuff there. Last week, the third quarter, the Premiership quarter, Sydney kicked 61 points, more than their opponents last week. West Coast 62, Essendon 33 and Hawthorn 25, when it was pretty much even Stevens at half-time to go on to resounding wins, and the Catters did it tonight against the Swans.
I'm never tipping against the Cats ever again, I don't think. Tonight, I don't know why I fell for that, but I love the way they go about it, and I just thought Sydney might have been too strong up there, but they have had a brilliant month of football. Geelong, they've beaten Hawthorn, they've beaten North Melbourne, they've beaten Carlton, and now they beat the Premiers. They've beat the two sides that played in the grand final, and they deserve to be Premiership favourites right now.
Four good teams there. Yeah, I really thought Trent West worked into it very well in the second half. His ruck work in the middle of the ground, didn't get a heap of the ball, but just nullified Mumford jumping into the ruck stoppage there. And also Pike, whose hands were good tonight, Mike Pike. But then you had the beautiful blend of pace on the outside and that bullocking work on the inside, led by Selwood. And your lad, Stokes and Motlop on the outside. I thought that's the best game I've seen Motlop play.
Yeah, he's quick. I saw him last week, and I saw Stokes last week. I actually gave him best in the ground when he played last week. I thought he was terrific. Did it again, but Selwood has so much impact to that side. He just hits hard, he turns things around, he can take marks, he just does it all.
Why
He's
didn't
a
they
superstar.
tag him tonight?
Well, why would you bother? Because, you wouldn't think about that, would you?
Why would you bother? Yeah, exactly. I thought it was obvious they should have...
Don't pick up the good ones, pick up the other ones,
The easy ones.
Yeah. I thought Nick Smith might have been a better chance to pick him up in the middle of the ground so you don't waste one of your good players like a Jack or someone like that.
Do you get to a situation, though, Sellers, if you want somebody who's really good, they play predominantly in the middle of the ground, and you're chasing your tail because the bloke you tag with in the middle is incapable of going and playing as a backman, do you end up chasing your tail so you just let them run free? We've got a lot of midfields in this day and age who just let the opposition run free and you back yourself at the stoppages to beat them.
I thought Nick Smith, he can play down back and he can play up forward, he can play anywhere. And we saw him in the grand final day do a ripper job on Rioli, if you remember that. He knocked him over.
Forward of the centre.
Yeah, I know, but I just think he can play in the centre of the ground too. And they've got to sacrifice somebody to cut out one of their good players.
Let the midfielders run free, the ones that don't hurt you. Joel Selwood changes games like
Correct.
you saw tonight. He gets the ball and he gets it out to blokes like Stokes and Motlop, and then they can run free.
He did everything tonight, Selwood. He was just sensational. Absolutely fantastic. Let's have a look at the match highlights. And, what a first quarter. It was 15 goals they kicked. They kicked 2 goals each in the first 3.5 minutes, basically. It was unbelievable stuff. Hall and Smith showed something tonight as well, Derm.
Yeah.
A nice left foot goal to get things going.
Georgie. Curious George. And did a great job on Kennedy. I only picked up on the TV late in the second quarter he went on to him. I didn't really see too much hard checking on Kennedy in the first quarter or so. But thereafter, when I saw him appear on him, did a really good job on him.
Motlop was fantastic. He kicked 2 goals in that term. We just saw McVeigh coming back, hitting the front, the Swans late in the quarter, and then Jude Bolton ran in and kicked another, and they were 5 points up at quarter time. That quarter going 35 minutes of that many goals kicked. In the second quarter, it was only 2 goals each. First one came out the back to Hanbury. The first one to Robert Thompson and Henbury. That was 19 points, and at this stage of the game looked like the Swans were going to take over until Mark McClure made the call. He said, watch Geelong, they'll win this quarter, and Motlop is my man. He certainly did. He just put his hand up and was able to kick the goal. That's Lewis Roberts Thompson doing his knee there, and in a bad way. And from that moment on, they lost a lot of momentum.
Changed the game.
Selwood, let's have a look here. This is what he does. Gone for all money. A lot of players would have just guarded fresh air. He got the spoil. He looked up, left foot kick, lace out, top of the square, goal. That is what a captain and a champion does.
The handball he gave out then as well. Well, by all rights, 99 out of 100 players just actually regather themselves. He gets the handball away.
And that's look at his teammates go to him, the skipper. They all go up. They see what's going on out there. They know what happens. They know how hard it is. They know that people stop and take short steps. Not this bloke. He's just an absolute ripper. And then Kennedy had... it was a nightmare game for Kennedy. A mare, as they say, and Stokes' goal. And there's the final siren. They win by 21 points.
And Hall and Smith was on him. And so you take away one of your, not your strengths to pick up Josh Kennedy. You take away one of your guys who are lesser light and take that out. And that's what I talk about with Nick Smith. Same one.
Always a good victory when you win interstate. Here's the Cats singing the song in the rooms after their victory.
Boys.
This has been a Fox Footy production for Fox Sports.